Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Tea. I'm your host, the amazing Tea Street. Today's coffee mug says, I run on coffee and grace. I run on coffee and grace. Today's topic is one that I'm passionate about. I believe that though we often use love as a noun, I believe that love really is a verb. I never believe when people tell me they love me. I only believe when they show me that they love me. And so today's topic, the power of doing love. The power of doing love. We talk a lot about love. I do. Good morning, Wendy. We say, I love you. I love you, girl. I'm sending love. Much love to you. We put hearts, emojis on posts. We double tap pictures so people will know that we love them and what they posted. We send the little care emoji. But there's a difference between feeling love, saying love, and doing love. Good morning, Alana. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Lori. There's a difference between feeling, saying, and doing love. Because sometimes we have turned love into a noun when love was always supposed to have some verbs attached to it. Love ought to move. Love ought to show up. Love ought to do something. And sometimes the most powerful question you can ask yourself isn't, who do I love? It's, who can I tell I love by what I do? That's different. Who do I love and who can I tell I love them by what I do are two radically different things. Good morning, Val. There are three things I've learned about the power of doing love. Not feeling love, not saying love, but the power of doing love. Three things that I've learned. One, doing love interrupts you. Good morning, Miss Woods. Doing love interrupts you. We like love when it fits conveniently into our schedule. I'd love to help you as soon as I finish these 14 other things I got to do. But real love has a terrible habit of showing up at inconvenient times. Somebody needs to talk when you're tired. I don't know about y'all, but last week was a tiring week. And when I tell you, I've never in my life had so many people who needed me in that space. Somebody needed to talk to you. Somebody needed your help when you were busy. Somebody needs you to show up when you'd rather stay home in your pajamas, under your blanket, watching something that you are scrolling. No emotional investment is sometimes what we give. Doing love says, you matter enough for me to be interrupted. Think about the Good Samaritan. He didn't wake up that morning saying, today feels like a wonderful day to go find a half-dead stranger on the side of the road. He was going somewhere. He had plans. But compassion interrupted his itinerary. That's one of the greatest tests of love, y'all. Can somebody else's need become more important than my convenience? Now, I need you to hear me clearly. Doing love doesn't mean having no boundaries. It doesn't mean allowing everybody to drain you. But sometimes love says, I know this wasn't on my schedule, but you matter. Some of the greatest acts of love you will ever perform will begin with an interruption because y'all, sometimes love interrupts you. Good morning, Olivia. Good morning, Tiffany. Good morning, Rhonda. Sometimes love interrupts you. Number two, doing love studies people. Here's where we sometimes get it twisted. We love people the way we want to be loved. But doing love asks the question, what does love look like to you? My love language is being alone. That's not everybody else's love language. When you want to show me love, leave me alone. But there are other people that don't receive love that way because everybody doesn't need what I need. You might give somebody a gift when what they really need is your time. You might give somebody advice when what they really need is for you to shut up. And some of us, we need a ministry of shh, no scripture, no TED talk, no 12-point plan. Just sit there, sit in somebody's pain. Y'all, can I tell you, when my mom died, I didn't want to hear platitudes. I didn't want to hear that she's in a better place. I needed people to just sit and allow me to feel the grief that I felt. I needed their ministry of shh. Doing love requires us to study people. What makes them feel seen? Not what makes you feel seen. Not how do you want to show up for them. What makes them feel seen? What makes them feel safe? What are they carrying that they never talk about? What makes their eyes light up? You ever be with your friends and you all of a sudden notice that certain things are their triggers for good? We always think that triggers are bad. Sometimes good things get triggered in people too. But if you're not watching, because sometimes people don't say it, they simply do who they are. You got to watch. You got to study people. What causes them to shut down? Love pays attention. That's why some of the most powerful words you can hear are, I remembered. I remembered the time that such and such. I remembered that you had a meeting today. I remember this was a difficult anniversary. I remember you said you liked these. I remembered you were nervous. That's why I came and sat on the front row so that you would know someone was close. Because underneath, I remembered is another message. You mattered enough for me to pay attention. Doing love isn't always about doing something big. Sometimes it's simply knowing somebody well enough to do the right small thing. All right. Number 3, doing love leaves evidence. Doing love leaves evidence. One time, when I was very frustrated with my youngest son, I asked him one day, if someone wanted evidence to convict me in a court of law for loving you, what evidence would they use to convict me of loving you? And he had a laundry list of things that he could cite as evidence that I loved him. And in the reverse, I turned it on him and I said, if someone wanted to convict you of loving me in a court of law, what evidence would they use? Because your words fall hollow on ears that don't feel. Doing love leaves evidence. I want you to imagine something. What if every time you love somebody well, you left behind a thumbprint or a fingerprint? You couldn't see it, but it was there. Only it was on the child that you encouraged. It was on the friend that you checked on. It was on the coworker that you defended when they weren't in the room. It was on the stranger whose dignity you protected and restored. It was on the person that you forgave. It was on the young person you refused to give up on. It was on the person you prayed for who never even knew that you were praying. Fingerprints everywhere, y'all. What if your fingerprints of love were all over everybody that you encountered? That's the power of doing love. You may never know what your love prevented. You may never know what that phone call interrupted, somebody else's despair, maybe somebody's suicidal ideation. You may never know that your encouragement stopped somebody from quitting. You may never know that your kindness restored somebody's belief that good people still exist. And here's the beautiful part. Love doesn't have to get credit to have impact. Love, y'all, you don't need a check mark by your name. And you don't have to tell people how you loved other people well. Just love them well. Because guess what? When you love somebody well, they're going to tell the story anyway. But even if they don't, you didn't do it for the storytelling. Doing love. Good morning, Mr. Tanisha. Good morning. Doing love, y'all, it matters. Love doesn't get credit, and it doesn't have to in order for it to make an impact. Some of the greatest love you will ever do will never have your name attached to it. No Facebook post, no picture, no announcement. No, look, everybody, I'm out here loving. Can I tell you? I think it's terribly exploitive when you help people and you make a post about it, because you make it about you. and not about them. Because doing love isn't done from a place of self aggrandizement. Do love so that people feel what you have to offer. Can I tell you the greatest love that I feel isn't when people tell me, it's when they show me the love of Christ. The greatest love my mother ever gave me wasn't one thing that she bought me, it was when she introduced me to Jesus. That's how in retrospect, how I knew my mother loved me is that she offered me Jesus. Real love is looking for somewhere to land. So today, don't just tell somebody you love them. I dare you to do love. Let love interrupt you. Let it make you inconvenient today. Study somebody well enough to know what makes them feel loved and leave fingerprints of love in places where you may never receive credit. Because at the end of our lives, people probably won't remember every speech that I made. Y'all, I've made thousands of speeches. Kids won't ever know that. What they always say is, I believe that Miss T loves me. Can I tell you that's the best statement I ever hear, is that they believe that I love them. They won't remember every accomplishment that I've posted or that you post. They'll remember that you showed up, that you remembered them, that you made them feel like they mattered. And maybe that's one of the greatest legacies that any of us can leave. Not simply that we had love, not simply that we talked about love, but when people encountered us, they experienced love, because love isn't just something you feel. Love isn't just something that you say. Love, my friends, is something that you do. So today I want to challenge you to go do love for somebody today. I'm the amazing T Street, but you already know there's absolutely positively nothing amazing in me. There's not in each and every one of you. So today I want to challenge you to go and do love. And remember that doing love interrupts you. It's not always convenient, y'all. Doing love studies people so that you get it right and how they need to be loved. And finally, doing love leaves evidence. What's the evidence someone would use in a court of law to convict you for having loved well? Because can I tell you, when we get to the end of our lives, there will be a court of law. We will stand before the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords and give an account for everything that we did and did not do. And one of the things that he commanded of us is to love the Lord our God and to love our neighbors as ourselves. So I dare you today to go and demonstrate the power of doing love. Have an amazing day, y'all. Peace.